Well, hi, everybody. It's Barney here in Seattle, Washington. I'm back home. I'm very happy. I'm wearing my New Orleans Jazz Fest shirt. I'm in a good mood. It's beautiful outside. It's blue skies. It's warm. Seattle is going to be in the 80s today. That's unusual. The local paper had a story about it. The local paper said this morning that Seattle has less air conditioning than any other city in the country. So, and they gave statistics. The statistics are we're around 30%. 30% of the residences in all of Seattle have some kind of air conditioning, at least a room unit all the way up to central air conditioning. It's by far the lowest number in the country. The only other city that comes even close is San Francisco at about 35%. And then the third city, the third least air-conditioned city in the United States was Portland, Oregon, and it was over 70%. Why do we have so little air conditioning here? Well, because you just don't need it. 80 degrees is fairly unusual, and we must have maybe somewhere between 30 and 40 days a year where it hits 80. 90 degrees is almost unheard of. Where I live in West Seattle, I would say that it would be unusual to have even more than one day of 90-degree heat in a year. And then 100 degrees is like really unheard of. It just never happens. And not only that, the humidity is low. So even though it's 85, it feels like much less to me because I came from Kansas City. I spent a lot of time in New Orleans. I've been to Nashville. I've been to Houston. I've been to these places where it is so sticky when it's hot that it feels like you've walked into a sauna. That's not true of Seattle in the summer. It can get warm here, but it does not get sticky. It's a pleasure to be here in the summer. Now we have to pay for it, and that is about 9 months of the year, Seattle can be dreary and rainy. So, you have to pick your poison, I guess. You get the nice benefit of these fabulous summers with long days and long, sunlight way into the evening. Seattle is also the farthest north city in the country. So I keep singing the praises of Seattle. It's a great place to be, and it's a good place to make money if you have a product that sells to the kind of people that are running around this town. There's a lot of money running around this town looking for a home. So if you want to find a whole bunch of great customers who have lots of money, this is also a good place for you. Okay, I'm going to jump into the questions. I think I'm getting the hang of this. I actually went to the right place on the site this week. Thank you, Jamie, and thank you, Sean, for making that clear to me. And I found that you guys had asked some questions in the event site, which is where I had not been looking for until 2 weeks ago. So now I'm looking there, and I'm getting the hang of this. I didn't grow up with cell phones and email and all that stuff, so a lot of this is new to me. Away we go. I'm going to start with Gabs. Gabs, you asked, how do I communicate bad news to a client? In this case, a university canceled a scheduled visit for one of the clients that you have that got a scholarship from you. When you have bad news to communicate it to a client, a couple rules. Number one, do it as quickly as you can. As soon as you find out is a wonderful time to do it. Number two, don't sugarcoat it. Just say what happened. Don't make apologies unless an apology is deserved. In other words, if it's your fault, of course you apologize. You say, I'm sorry, I screwed up. But if it's somebody else's fault, just say, hey, somebody else screwed up. I'm sorry. I wish that hadn't happened, but they did screw up. And so I'm here to tell you that your scheduled visit isn't going to happen. But I'd like to see if there's a way that we can still give you something of value and still make it worth your while. And then work with the customer to try and get a good result. Don't tell the customer what they want. Ask them. Ask the customer, what would you like in replacement for this visit that we're not going to have? If you can't come up with anything, and if they're really dissatisfied, then of course you offer them a refund. In this case, you're not selling them something. They didn't pay you money, so there's no refund to offer. Anyway, you want to work with them. You want to try and get them as comfortable as you can. They will appreciate the fact that you're being open and honest. I can't imagine. I mean, I've had bad news for customers plenty of times, and very seldom have I had a customer go ballistic on me. It does happen, but it's unusual. Most customers understand. My philosophy about guarantees and refunds: everything you sell should have a guarantee, and you should be willing to give a refund at the drop of a hat. It may seem like that isn't the right thing to do. It may seem like you are getting taken advantage of here and there, and yes, you will be taken advantage of here and there, but if you're willing to back up what you sell with a 100% guarantee, including a refund, then your customers will know that, they'll feel that, they'll have more confidence in you, and I guarantee you that you will be much further ahead in the long run. I guarantee my work. I say to everyone who works with me, if you're not the slightest bit, if you're not 100% satisfied, or if you're the slightest bit dissatisfied with my work, let me know. I will cheerfully give you a refund. And guess what? I don't give refunds. I mean, it doesn't happen. People don't ask for it. But if it were to happen, if someone did ask me for a refund, I would cheerfully give them their money back. Okay, Isaac asked a question about presentations, and his business is high-end auto restoration, and I'm assuming, Isaac, that your customers are well-to-do, and they may be quite a bit older than you, so people that can play the game of restoring old classic cars probably have money, and they're probably somebody who's a little older than you. There are people my age that I know that love cars and collect cars and like to get cars. So your question was, how do I avoid feeling intimidated? And there's two ways that you could get intimidated, Isaac. One would be because you are feeling it and it's coming from you. And the other would be that the person that you're talking to is making you feel intimidated. A kind of person that would go out of his way to intimidate you or would do that on purpose, I would call that person a bully. And I personally don't like doing business with bullies. And I would suggest that unless you're so hard up for business that you just can't see any way around it, that you would not do business with a bully. We're talking about somebody that's just a jerk. The problem with dealing with a jerk is that they won't make your life miserable once. They'll make your life miserable over and over and over again. So it's best just not to do business with them at all. My belief is that this group of people is very small and represents just a small fraction, I mean a really tiny fraction of your customer base. Most of your customer base probably are really nice people, and I'm guessing that the reason why you feel intimidated is that they're either older than you, they have a lot more money than you do, and you're new to this game. And if you're new to this game, you just need practice. I suggest that you just be upfront and open and honest with people. And if you're feeling nervous, just say to them, I'm feeling a little nervous, and I'm feeling a little nervous because I haven't done this a lot, and I want to make a really good impression on you. Just saying out loud what you are feeling is a way of connecting with a customer. And that's the whole ball game when you're in sales, is you need to make that connection. So if you're feeling nervous and you try and hide it by covering up, then you're going away from connection, not going toward connection. And connection is the whole ball game in making sales. So I would just be open and honest with people about it. After you've sold 20 or 30 high-end auto restoration jobs, my guess is that any uncertainty or nervousness you have about making a presentation will go away. So accept the fact that you're going to be nervous in the beginning, and after you've done this 20 or 30 times, I don't think you're going to be nervous anymore. I'm reading stuff into this because you didn't give me all the details, but if you still have this problem and you've got 50 sales under your belt and you still have this problem, then something else is going on, and it would be good if we talked about it. You mentioned two other things that I'd like to touch on just briefly. One is you want to make sure that you're not underselling, and the way that you know that you're not underselling is to take a good hard look at the marketplace and see what things like what you're doing cost in the marketplace, and take the best look you can at measuring what you do against what everybody else does. If you're doing a job that's very similar to, say, the top 10 auto restorers or high-end auto guys out there, and you're right in their ballpark, your price should be similar to theirs. If you're brand new to it and you want to make your service a little more attractive with a little lower price, then I might cut it 5 or 10% in the beginning. Just and don't call it your permanent price, call it an introductory offer. Say for my first 10 clients or for my first 20 clients, I'm offering an introductory offer. And often what you can get in return for a lower price is you can get a testimonial or a referral. Then you can say to people, let me give you a 10% discount, and in return, if I do a great job, would you please give me a testimonial? That's a nice way of getting a balance there. But after you've got 10 or 20 restorations under your belt, it seems to me you should have a very clear picture of what your price is, and you should stick to it. And you should not cut your price easily. You should have a very compelling reason to cut your price. And the other question you asked was, or the thing you implied is that you don't want to appear unprofessional. And so this again is the kind of question I would field from somebody who's new to it. So let me just give you a tip or two about presentation. Number one, you need good hygiene. So you should be clean, you should have fresh breath, you should comb your hair, you should shave if you're in a place where shaving's important. If you want to appear clean shaven, you should dress appropriately. So if you're going to somebody's house and there's somebody that's wealthy, you want to dress up a little bit. You don't want to come in sloppy jeans and a dirty T-shirt. You want to look pretty good. So dress well, show up on time. That's really important. If you have a presentation that's associated with a time frame, be sure to show up a few minutes early. Be very respectful of somebody else's time. Use good manners. Always make sure you understand what they're asking. Talk slowly. These are just a few things that you can do to give a good impression. Always ask a customer's permission. May I have a few minutes of your time? Do you like the things I'm saying? Would you like me to proceed? There's a whole book written about permission marketing and permission selling. You might want to check out Seth Godin and Permission Marketing. It's a really good book to get you a sense of how you approach potential customers. Okay, I think that's a good place to leave this. Isaac, if you have more questions, send me a follow-up question. And Dominique asked a question. Dominique, actually, she has two questions. She's a pro athlete and she's an entrepreneur and she has several income streams. And her question is, what do you think is more important in the beginning of building your empire foundation? Relationships or dumping money into your own business to build value? Well, Dominique, I got to tell you, the picture of dumping money is a strange metaphor. I can't imagine why I would want to dump money anywhere. I like spending money, but the only place where I would put money would be in a bank or maybe in somebody's hand as I was purchasing something else. Never really thought about dumping it anywhere. It's a funny question because I don't really know what you're doing. But if you ask me, if the question is, okay, I want to try to improve my business, should I spend money or build relationships? Yeah, that answer is easy. Build relationships. Relationships will give back to you over and over and over and over again. If you spend money, whatever you spend it on is probably gone after you spend it. So what makes businesses thrive is really happy customers. Really happy customers pay your bills and they refer you to other customers. So always concentrate on building relationships. That is really important. You don't want to spend money really on anything unless it's something you need to get where you're going. And so the question about should I spend money has to be secondary to what am I trying to accomplish. So that's where I would start is let's let's make sure you have a very clear goal, and let's make sure that the things you would need to spend to get you to that goal are really obvious to you. Okay, then you have a question about how to save as a business owner. Again, I mean, you know, I don't want to get snarky or flip with you, but I mean, the way you save is you take some of the money you've earned and you put it in a bank, or you put it into a savings account. Again, I'm not quite sure what you mean, and you mentioned somebody that I don't know. So you said, do I abide by the 10% rule like Jim Rohn taught? I don't know Jim Rohn, and I don't know what he does. I do know that there's quite a few religious organizations that ask you to tithe 10%, which means something like give 10% of your profits back to the church, or 10% of your income. And if it's something like that, is that a good idea? Sure. I mean, again, the way you spend your money is relative to what it is you're trying to accomplish. If you are in a building phase of your business might not be throwing off any cash at all. You may be earning a big profit and still be starved for cash, and that's often a problem with growing companies. So I would need to know a little more about your business to know where the cash is coming from and where it's going to. Professional accountants and money people talk about sources and uses of funds. This is a thing you'll hear a lot if you go to a bank and ask for money, ask for a loan. They'll want to see a sources and uses of funds, meaning where is the money coming from and where is it going to? What are you spending it on? So I would like to see every business owner meet his personal goals in terms of income, and often that doesn't happen in the beginning of a business. Often you don't get there until you've been in business for a while. When I started my business, I took out as little as possible. I gave myself a salary that was just enough to cover my personal rent or mortgage payment, to cover my clothing and my food and my basic necessities for my business, and I plowed everything else back into the business. And the reason for that is I wanted to grow my business. And if you're going to grow your business, most businesses take money. And this is particularly true if you're selling a tangible product where there's inventory, because you have to buy the inventory before you sell it. So this takes money in a growing business. I'd be glad to talk about this more with anybody who would like to talk about this. And Dominique, in your particular situation, I'd be glad to go into it more if you gave me a little more information about exactly what you're doing. Okay, the big question of the day came from Inga, and she actually sent it in a week ago, and I'm just getting to it now. So Inga asked a question about organizing, and this is one of my favorite subjects. And I may go a little over half an hour here. This is a really important subject. By day, I'm a business consultant. What I do here in Seattle is I have about 25 businesses that I work with. 16 of them I work with in what I call business support groups, where we meet once a month and talk about common problems. And then I meet with them one-on-one in between the monthly meetings. And I work with these people to help them grow their businesses. And I have some private clients. And almost everyone who comes to me comes with the same concern or the same complaint. In general, people will not call up a business consultant or any kind of consultant unless they are in some kind of pain. And the pain that people come to me with is, I am overwhelmed. I hear this comment over and over and over again, and it expressed in so many different ways. I call it running in front of the train. When you get tired of running in front of the train, what do? At some point, you've just got to stop and get away from that. You've got to figure out a way to get out of that. And the answer is you need to get organized. Organization is the second most important thing in anyone's business. The number one most important thing is your product. You have to have a good product to sell, preferably a great product to sell. If you have a great product to sell, then you need to go on to the next thing, which is organization. If you get organized in your business, you will do very, very well. People that are organized and are really get this piece nailed generally succeed in business. So I'm going to go into it a little bit, try and tell you a story or two, and then Inga, I'm going to try and give you a place to start. I tell a story about the forest and the trees. I think most of you have heard the saying, I can't see the forest for the trees. And what we mean by that is that that people tend to lose sight of the big picture because they get caught up in the details. And I find that most people I work with have this problem. They get working on something, they get their nose into something, they get over in the weeds, and they keep working on that thing, and they forget all the other stuff that's going on around them, and they lose sight of the big picture. I think you've seen examples of this in other people. You've probably got lots of examples of this in your life. And I think most of the people I work with have this problem, and I try to help people with this problem. But there is the opposite problem that most people pay very little attention to, and that is, I can't see the trees for the forest. And that's something that is a really common problem with entrepreneurs, and particularly startup entrepreneurs. And what I mean by that is you have so much on your mind that you don't know what to work on next. So if you try to keep everything that's going on, in other words, you've got that big picture in your mind all the time, the question then is, well, what do I do in the next minute? How do I know what to work on next? And I call that seeing the trees for the forest. And we are going to try and build some tools to help you get there so that you can confidently work on the right next thing next, or the right first thing first. And that's something I talk a lot about in my classes and my courses, is doing the right first thing first. So I'm going to give you all, and Inga particularly, a little intro to getting organized. There's 3 parts to organization. 1 is the organization itself, and 2 is planning, and 3 is learning how to solve business problems so that you can get stuff done. So again, a real quick summary. There's the actual getting organized, there's planning, and there's getting stuff done. You've got to get good at all 3 of these things if you're going to win in business. Okay, we are going to go to the first thing, organization. Getting organized also has 3 parts. The way you tackle getting organized is you work on all 3 of these, and they all 3 go together. You can't really tackle one without the other. The 3 things are organizing your space, organizing your time, and organizing your work. Inga, I'm going to give you an example of each one of these things, and give you a little checklist to start. And they're just tips for you to ask yourself, well, how am I doing here? And if you see problem areas, then you know that we've touched on something you need to work on. Getting organized in your space means that you have enough room to work, and that everything you need is right at your fingertips. Conversely, everything you don't need is not at your fingertips. When I go into the workplace of most of my clients for the first time, I generally encounter a mess. Most business people I know are messy, and there's stuff everywhere. And the first question I ask them is, how do you get anything done? So step number 1, if you want to get organized in your space, is clean off your desk. And if you've done that and you've got your desk pretty clean, step number 2 is find a home for everything you use. And for the things you use often, the home should be very close to where you work. And if it's things you use not very often, the home should be a little further away so that you don't have those things cluttering up your immediate workspace. So that's getting your space organized. The next thing is getting your time organized. And the way you organize your time is you use a calendar. Now, most of you are pretty good at having a calendar, but most of you are probably not very good at using your calendar efficiently. And the reason for that is you let other people fill your calendar up for you. If somebody comes up to you and says, I'd like to have a meeting, you go, sure. When would you like to meet? Oh, I'd like to meet next Tuesday in the afternoon. You go, great, I'll write that down. And all of a sudden you find that your next Tuesday has something in the morning, something around the lunch, something in the afternoon, and they may have something to do with each other, and they may not have something to do with each other, and the appointments might be all in one place, or they might be all over everywhere else, and you find that you're not using your day very efficiently. So what I would like to see you do is to start using your calendar efficiently, and the way you can do that is to create some zones or some times for certain kind of things. meeting with clients first thing in the morning or last thing in the afternoon, checking email first thing in the morning, last thing in the afternoon, working on marketing first thing in the morning, second thing in the morning. Try to organize your time so that you can get your work done. And then the third thing is organizing your work. This is something that takes a lot of practice, Inga, but my mantra is doing the right first things first. Everything that you do has an order to it. No matter what you tackle, there's always something you do first and something you do second. A really good example of that in business would be marketing and sales. You can't sell unless you've marketed. So if you want to sell more, you have to market more. And so the order is marketing first and sales second. If you want to grow the sales in your business, you would always approach it that way. You would say, am I doing enough marketing to get more sales prospects or more leads? You can't get a sales lead unless you market. And so you want to start by doing the marketing and then you go to sales. So there's an order to that. So you want to plan your work. If you don't have enough sales and you want more sales, you would plan to do marketing first and sales presentations second. So that's an example of what I mean by organizing your work. And the three go together. It's the kind of thing that the concepts are pretty simple, but building a pattern in your life so that these things come naturally and you're efficient takes a lot of time and discipline. For some people, it's very difficult to do on your own. I'm one of those people. I wasn't good at any of these things until I got help. I now find that I am helping other people do this kind of thing a lot. So if you want some help with this kind of thing, please let me know, and I can talk about offering a master class on getting organized, or we can talk about an ongoing group that deals with organization. So that's the beginning of getting organized. The second thing you've got to get good at if you're going to be good in getting things done, Inga, is planning. People have a lot of trouble here because they don't have any discipline around it and they really don't know what good planning is. Planning is the step between setting a goal and execution or implementation. Most people go too quickly through this. They set a goal. Let's say the goal is, I want more customers. And they quickly go, okay, I'm going to start calling people. So they didn't take that step in between, which is planning. Planning is answering the question, how am I going to reach that goal? If I want more customers, how am I going to do that? So then you start asking these framing questions. Okay, I want more customers. How many more customers do I want? Oh, I want a lot more customers. How many more is a lot? Do I want 10 more customers? Do I want 100 more customers? How soon do I want these customers? Do I want them yesterday? Do I want them today? Do I want them tomorrow? This is the kind of stuff you do in planning. You ask these basic framing questions and you lay it out. Okay, I want 100 more customers. I want to pick these 100 customers up in 3 months. I want to try and get 20 the first month, 30 the second month, 50 the third month. If I'm going to get 20 the first month, I'm going to have to do so much marketing. I'm going to have to get so many leads. And you plan that all out before you start doing anything. And most people don't do this. They don't know how to do it. They don't take the time to do it. And they suffer because they don't do it. So if you immediately jump into trying to get more customers without doing the planning, you'll find that you get lost pretty quickly. And I imagine that most of you have had this problem at times. Again, planning is something I work on with people. I do planning workshops. And if you would like any help with planning, please let me know. I would be glad to talk to you about some good next steps. And then the third thing in good organization is getting stuff done, learning how to solve business problems and getting stuff done. And that's something that needs two things. The first is just practice. Most people are not naturally good at solving problems in the beginning. It's the kind of thing you get better and better at. I think I'm better at it today than I've ever been. And I've got 50 years of business experience learning how to solve problems. And I'm just flat out better at it than I was 45 years ago. So it's the kind of thing that you get better at. There's no way you can get better at it from experience without just jumping in and doing stuff. So you just jump in and do stuff and try and learn from your mistakes. But along the way, there's a lot of things you can do to make this getting stuff done better. And it all revolves around a system for keeping track of what you're doing, learning when to do what, when, organizing stuff. The system I use is a system called Time Design. I am not hawking it. I don't make any money if you go out and buy it. It's a day planning kind of system that includes sheets for tracking what you're working on. I like it a lot. I've been using it for almost 40 years now. I picked it up right around 1980, 1981, and I've been using it ever since. I'd be glad to show you how it works. There are other planning systems. I still use the brick and mortar one with paper. I don't try and do it on my computer. There is an online version. Some people think that the online version is just as efficient. I don't think so, at least not for me. But you can play around with them. There's lots of other products out there that do planning, project management, all that kind of stuff. The one thing that's really great about Time Design is that it sort of urges you and almost forces you to make sure that you understand what the next thing you're doing is. And I really like it. It's a system that's like almost funnels things into in such a way so that it's real obvious what you should be doing next. And I like that a lot. There's a book that I would recommend to go along with this Time Design. You could buy the book without the Time Design. The book is by David Allen. It's called Getting Things Done. I've got it right here. I can get a picture of it. There you go. I don't know if anyone wants to take a picture of this. Getting Things Done, David Allen. That's a really good book for learning how to be more organized in your life and learning how to do some planning. It's a real good introduction to planning and project management. I think that if you tackle these three things and work on them together, you will make some progress. Inga, I've sort of talked around and around. I don't know that I got I nailed your one concern. If I nailed your one concern, great. If I didn't nail your one concern, send me an email or write another question in our group, and I'll keep talking about it. This is a subject that we could go on and on about. I think every one of you who's watching today and sees this needs to pay attention to this stuff. If you get good at this, your business will be better. And if you don't get good at it, you'll be making bad mistakes and you'll find that things are a struggle. So this is an area that will make a big, big difference in your life. Okay, I did run a few minutes over. I am going to do one or two more little bookkeeping things. I offered last week to make 4 calls this week and 4 calls next week for those of you who are going to BusinessCon. If you're going to BusinessCon and would like some of my time to help you get focused on what it is that you want to accomplish at BusinessCon, I am making 4 slots next week available to any one of you who would like to talk with me. I need you to just email me or post on here that you'd like one of those slots. The 4 slots are Pacific time. They are 11:15, 12 o'clock, 12:45, and 1:30. I will give them out to people on a first come, first served basis. My time is free. I don't always give away free time, but this is a gift for me, an extra value because you spent money on BusinessCon. I will spend a half an hour with you talking about how we can make your BusinessCon more productive and make sure that whatever you're trying to accomplish, we get it front and center and we frame it in such a way that you can hopefully more easily get the answers you're looking for. All I would need is that you're interested, and you could please give me your phone number and I will call you at the appropriate time. Again, those 4 slots are 11:15, 12 o'clock, 12:45, 1:30 Pacific time, next Monday, July 30th. right after I do this live presentation. So if you'd like one of those slots, please let me know. I'd be glad to do it for you. Okay, I wish everyone a great week. Please keep the questions coming. I love to answer your questions, and I like you guys a lot, and I hope I can help you all thrive. Okay, take care.